Okay. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. And thank you all so much for being here with me today. Um, I want to introduce you to my Win series. And the Win series is women that inspire, and okay, women that inspire and nurture. And this series is starting from today till 10th of March, where I'm going to invite some ordinary women but with some extraordinary journey, and from their journey, their experiences and their learnings that we can include in our life. So the very first guest that I have today with me is somebody who is amazing leader, an extraordinary woman who is very focused, who has a beautiful, cheerful disposition. She is an avid business and strategy leader. She has over 13 years of experience of building and scaling growth, sales, strategy, designing teams and initiatives. My first interaction with her left me with this feeling that wow, she is like like a bomb. And she's like full of energy, and what amazing thought process. And she has done a lot of cross functional roles. She's involved in problem solving, a lot of that kind of work she has engaged in her current role. She is heading the business strategy, partnership and GTM for global customers and markets at the company called as DeltaX. And her name, this powerful lady, is Gita Dhir. Can I invite Gita to please come on, online with us? Gita, are you there?
I'm here. Hi,
Hey,
Shraddha.
hi Geeta. Thank you so much for agreeing to be with me on my these live interview series, and for removing time on Sunday afternoon, where I believe you've been working, right? Before this, you were already in a call.
Yes. It's one of those Sundays when I'm working. I actually enjoy working on Saturday and Sunday morning because I'm an early riser. So I end up taking up some calls. I end up taking on some personal time that I need to pick up some thoughts, build some strategies, find out solutions for some processes that are not working. So that's my time on Saturdays and Sundays. I absolutely enjoy this time using to work and pick up things
Wow.
I'm not able to otherwise in Monday to Friday.
Wow, that speaks so much about how much you love your work. And, without taking, much of your time, what I want to ask you is that this journey of yours, last 13 years, and I remember when we spoke for the first time, there was one trait that you mentioned about yourself, and that kind of stuck with me. And, I want you to share your journey, how it has been for last 13 years. How do you manage, like, working with companies, working with different teams, whatever your journey's been, right? We would love to hear about
Sure. I think before I speak about my journey, we need to go back to even before my journey started. I come from a business family background. I've seen my parents, very close relatives, taking on a lot of, wearing different hats, building businesses, growing those businesses. And my father, for example, he's a serial entrepreneur. Much before the term was very fancy, he picked on different, very diverse industries, verticals, and build businesses in them. Small businesses, right? The typical India small businesses that from domestic go all the way to international servicing and so on. So I was by default excited, inspired, intrigued by businesses by and large, growth, revenue, impact of building teams, impact of building processes, putting together structures that ultimately bring revenue growth is something that came very naturally to me. So when I started my career, I started by designing with some of the design houses in Bombay, which very naturally got me into procuring merchandising for those brands. And that increased my confidence such that I went on to do the same thing for not just Indian brands. I started doing it for some European brands, working out of India, managing teams across different parts of the world. So I was procuring in China, bringing that stuff in India, wrapping it up, building from some raw material, new products. Those were then landing in Europe, being sold in fashion stores, and so on. So it was overall, something that continued to make me more and more excited about revenue generation, about impact of small decisions that brands make from product point of view, and from product all the way to wanting to understand brand side is something that I started taking on as a journey 5 or 6 years into my career. I went on to build a brand myself, which by itself didn't do very well, but that really excited me about brand building, marketing, understanding the nuances of impact of marketing on a brand. And when the opportunity of DeltaX came along, I I started consulting brands, helping brands, supporting brands with their marketing, with automation, with AI at DeltaX. And through and through, right? Like the journey that has brought me here is something that started, I would say, 15 to 18 years ago, right? Like when others were still thinking about what college they want to go to, I was already thinking about what kind of business I want to do, right? Or what kind of work I want to do, not even just business. So from there to today, the journey has really been one step at a time to reaching here where today I take care of partnerships at DeltaX. I work with cross country teams within DeltaX and with clients, and I consult brands, consult teams into leveraging marketing, leveraging automation, and ultimately making an impact to their businesses.
Wow, that's that sounds like a lot of work, and it sounds like deep work, So, and with the way you're kind of expressing it, looks like you're very passionate about what you do. So it's amazing to know about your journey till now. What I would like to also understand is, uh, you know, what do you think about taking ownership when you climb your career path? Like, how important is ownership for an individual to go the ladder in their career? And if you can explain with any of your personal example, it would be great.
Sure, absolutely. I think sometimes, I think ownership, accountability, you can interchange these words and use them as you please. However, it's a lot more about ultimately seeing through on whatever challenges you take on, seeing through on whatever responsibilities you take on. And essentially, when it comes to ownership, it came something, it is something that, by instinct, by interest, comes very naturally to me, because in general, when I think of any project, at be it at DeltaX or even in personal life, right, I've been very excited about ultimately seeing the end goal come to life, right? And that's what has been my driving factor for taking on ownership. No matter if it is a new challenge, no matter if it is something that I've been doing forever, at the end of the day, making it happen is what ownership is to me, right? Whatever small or big task could be, project could be. So even at DeltaX, when I joined, we were a 15 people team, and I started by one, taking DeltaX to a new market, um, essentially launching DeltaX in newer markets, including India. From there, building a team, or be it about building new processes, or even fixing some processes or reevaluating the processes as we grow as a team. All of this has been happening only because me or somebody else in the team has taken ownership in driving it, in driving the goal. One example that I can talk about in my experience is around hiring. I have throughout always seen that when it comes to bringing people on board that you think can be leaders tomorrow, that you think can replace you in your organization and you'll be happy about, you'll feel pride about, is something that only comes from taking on that ownership, right? So I've seen when teams struggle, I've seen when teams find it very, very difficult to hire, to close and train people once they come on board. And for me, I take very, I personally take a lot of interest in it. I spend a lot of time with people that we are bringing on board. I personally ensure that their growth path in the organization is well planned out, and we are pacing up for somebody who's joining the team to become a great professional if they are joining right out of college, or to become a leader role soon in the organization. And that's something that we set as baseline for someone's growth path in the organization. So when it comes to this happening, it is really, really important that somebody who is working very closely with them and has been in the organization takes on that ownership. I have been playing that role, I have played that role in multiple scenarios. And that's where I think if it wasn't for me or somebody else in the organization taking on that um, you know decision, um, that personal KRA or goal to make sure that they are helping someone else build their career or mentoring them in becoming a leader in the organization, it wouldn't happen. So I have seen ownership helping people climb in their career, defining their career paths. And I've also seen that coming really, really handy when you're taking on that ownership to help somebody else, seeing through on them being able to pace up or learn or get the right support, right stage is very, very important.
I absolutely agree with what you're saying. But you know what, Gita? One thing that I have, like like you're talking about one step ahead, maybe I want to ask you this question is that helping somebody taking, like ownership first of your life, and then in that, like say, because you are into hiring process, or maybe because you're into building teams, you need to include certain people. You need to figure out what kind of people do you want in the team, and what kind of people are the right set of people that will help kind of do or execute a job, and also help, it should also ensure their growth and the company's growth, right? Now we're talking about this is one notch higher. Let's come to an individual level. Say for me as an individual, say I'm a new joinee, or maybe just passed out from my college, and I'm looking to work somewhere. How can an ownership for an individual who's just starting the career, how can taking ownership really help them first? And maybe kind of you can answer both the questions together, which is, again, this is just an extension, is that there could be certain habits which if you have as an individual, does not allow you to take up ownership. Like, I know a habit of complaining, habit of blaming. This is something that I personally teach my students, that you cannot blame somebody. You cannot complain about things, because that completely robs away the power that you have inside you. It makes you feel victim. So the habits that, like, individuals that they currently have, maybe with your experience sharing or with your guidance, they'll be able to identify that these are the habits which are not going to help me take the ownership and take that step in the right direction, which will help me to climb the ladder. So what are those habits that one should keep in mind, why also they're taking up ownership about their life.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you asked this question, together, because the answer to this is actually, actually something that comes together. So let's talk about this. I think, like you correctly mentioned, a lot of times people end up just feeling very negative about the situation they are in, and they feel like, oh, I'm not able to do this. So first, I do not believe, in waiting for something miraculous to happen, right? I'm not waiting for luck to make something happen for me, right? I really believe that I have to choose what I want. Okay. And it's not about no. It's not about what I shouldn't be doing. It's a lot more about what I should be doing, right? And that's what I focus all my energy on. And that's what I always recommend people to focus and put their energy on. The moment you start thinking about this is what I want or need or should be doing, right? You have already eradicated what can't be done, right? You've already stopped the thought process which is holding you back. You've already stopped the thought process which is making you believe this can't be done, or I do not have these resources, or I do not have the time, or I do not know. you know Focus on I do. Yes, this is what I can do, this is where I have time, this is how I have resources, and bring them all together. And this is something that comes very naturally the moment you take ownership, right? And that's why I said, great that you asked this question together. The moment you take ownership, the moment you decide that this is what I want, right? It could be something as simple as by Wednesday, I want this XYZ thing happening. Could be at work, could be in your personal life, no matter what your goals are. The moment you start focusing on the goals, the moment you start focusing on what you want, what result you're aiming for, automatically your energy, your time, everything will start aligning to it, right? So I think ownership is one thing that will help you. Like, the moment you start saying that I want to see this through, you will get into the motion of action. So lack of action is removed. Your, by default, movement towards achieving that goal starts. Second, that I think is very, very important and a habit that sometimes hold people together is short-term gains, right? Like, it could be something as simple as I want to take this Friday off. It'll give me a long weekend, but then it'll be very, very difficult for me next week. I know come Monday I'll be swamped with things. So I would rather try to work, even if I can, just 2 hours on that Friday. I'll pick up on things that are really extremely important, that are priority, rather wrap them up instead of prolonging and prolonging my action on it and delaying my result on it and being a lot more stressed on Monday, right? So, like they say, sometimes we end up doing that even for money, penny wise, pound foolish. Apply that for, day-to-day actions, apply that for small decisions as well. Look at things from a holistic growth mindset, right? Because our growth, ultimately the results that we get in our life are pretty much compounding. It's result of compounding decisions that we make, right? Pretty much like investments in money, right? So if I'm making wrong decisions or not so smart decisions today on small decisions on day-to-day basis, they are going to have some sort of impact on my life in long run. pretty much like, not that I'm going to go ahead and use it. And, even though sometimes I do smoke, every cigarette that I'm smoking, it's going to have an impact on my health in some or the other way. It is deteriorating me. So it's a small decision, right? In that moment, it doesn't feel like it's impacting me. But in the long run, it definitely is impacting me.
Yeah.
So know that for sure, right? The decision of how and why we are doing a call at 9 a.m. versus 11 a.m. versus 3 p.m., right? The reason most of the most successful teams have stand-ups early morning, right?
Yeah.
And you see that everywhere, right? You go to a restaurant or a hotel, you will see that every morning they bring the entire team together. The manager brings the entire floor together and does a quick stand-up. Why do they do that early in the morning? Why not wrap it up the day before? Every small little decision that we make is ultimately compounding to get us results in the long run, in life, in career, in money. So take ownership, think of impact of your decisions, think of holistic growth. Stop not taking action, take action, right? Let yourself see through the results of your actions, right? So that's something that I really, really recommend. I think it's not about the qualities that stop us from being the captain of our life or career. It's about building the qualities that definitely will make us the captain of our life, make us the captain of our career, make us the captain of our, whatever we are doing in our life. So that's my only 2 cents on that.
Oh, lovely. That's so profound and it's so deep. Like, I hope everybody who's watching this, you, one thing that I take back from this entire conversation with Geeta is that you cannot just go into the day. It's always better to plan your day, because that's where the ownership comes into, like, okay, this is my day, I own the day. It's like starting your day, but you're starting your whatever journey you are on, you start by owning your day. Like, you don't snooze on the first moment of your day. Is when you know that, okay, yeah, I am the boss, I am the owner of everything that's going to happen today. Like a very small decision of, I'm not going to snooze, I'm just going to wake up with my alarm. So it's, thank you so much. It's such an amazing insights that you have shared with us today in this live. um as you know that this is special for the upcoming Women's Day, and which is where I want every woman who is anywhere in their life struggling for any kind of growth related questions or has any kind of doubts, okay, the Win interview series is going to give you answers to your those struggles. And it begins with this first trait which we can take back from Geeta's journey, is about taking ownership of everything, ownership of your life, ownership of also raising people, helping other people, and taking that ownership of doing your bit. Obviously, if they don't want to do something, you can't change that. But just going that one step out and thinking a little more about ownership of somebody else's growth as well. That's the second step what Geeta mentioned, apart from taking ownership of your life. I think so much to learn, so much to implement. If you are looking for an answer to your growth, then this is one attribute, one virtue that you should include in your life, and that is take ownership of yourself. Just that this, it's going to be short interview, right? Like, I've spoken to you, we're going to do it a very mini 30-minute interview, and I won't take this any more long. Just one last question which I would want to ask you, and because this is directed towards the Women's Day, upcoming Women's Day, any comments or any closing or any tips, closing statement or any tips that you would like to share with the audience on the power of being woman?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it comes very naturally to women to be empathetic to people, to be empathetic in situations. And I would say start using that to your benefit. It could be about making small decisions when you're onboarding somebody in your team at home, your staff at home, or it could be about larger decisions, when you're choosing a partner, when you're choosing, making decisions about how you want to use your money and so on. So I would say, start using your empathy, start using your instincts, right? More often than not, if something is going to be right or wrong. It's pretty much like that morning snooze, right, on your alarm. Somewhere in your heart, if you're going to be hitting that snooze, you're going to feel guilty about it. So if your instincts are telling you something, use it to your benefit. Get up, get out, make the right decisions, think holistically. And I think we are living in a great time, right? We are living in the most technologically advanced time. We are living in a time where we are able to see impact of our decisions real quick, real soon. So I would say start using all of this to your benefit. Start taking ownership, start taking charge of your life, and enjoy it every day, every moment. Great times today, great times ahead. The moment you start thinking that, the moment you start saying yes, it starts falling in place.
Lovely. Thank you so much for those pearls of wisdom. And I'm sure anyone who's seeking answers to their challenges, this interview with you is going to give them a lot of insights. And I'm sure it's going to open up some gates, or something here is going to kind of move around. And I really want to bless, people who are going to watch this and have any questions. I'm going to bless them with a lot of positive and loving energy, a lot of uh, happy feelings, where or maybe consider this interview as a sign where it's like God's sign that they have to work on this particular virtue of in their life and start taking action. So in case if you guys have any kind of questions, because this is going to be on YouTube, so you can always post your questions in the comments below, and I request Geeta to kind of help them with any question, answers to their queries. And yeah, that's all for today. I want to thank Geeta for being here, for taking out time, and for sharing all these small and big important tips and mindsets that one should adopt, so that they can rise up in their career, in their life. Does not matter if you're a housewife, does not matter if you're a mother, does not matter if you're a career woman, it does not matter if you're a businesswoman. What she shared with you is something that's going to add a lot of value to life if you just start practicing it. So thank you so much, Geeta. I am really, really, really grateful. And thank you for removing time and interacting with my audience. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Shraddha. I absolutely loved this conversation. You've made my Sunday, and good luck for the rest of the series. I'm sure that you're going to be bringing some really interesting ideas. I'm looking forward to watching them myself. Thank you. Thank you. This was a great time.
Thank you so